Muster together, my seafaring friends, as we set sail with an Aussie and a Yank.
My partner and cohort in Aussie and a Yank walk onto a ship is Nancy.
Hey, Jen, how are you?
I'm doing good. Maybe a little bit better than you right now, but I'm doing good, love.
Oh, gosh. Oh, my stars. So just before you said your hellos, we were talking about a periodical that Jen had sent me, and how I was very confused because she had sent me a periodical that was based out of Australia and New Zealand, and it was regarding Norwegian Cruise Line. Nothing made sense. And the
Because
reason
it's
it
from
didn't
down under.
exactly, and I'm not from down under.
And guys, the original reason why I sent this PDF to Nancy was because today our show is all about the crystal ball, you know, the thing we're going to look in and see what our future of travel is going to be like. The idea that Nancy would suddenly see on the first page NCL, the cruise line she absolutely loves and that she might be interested in, she totally ignored. And mind you, this is a huge half a page, okay, read on why Norwegian Cruise Line is no longer cruising in Australia.
Disclaimer, I did not skip the article on Norwegian. I read it. It just made no freaking sense to me. So let's, be true here.
All right, so we're getting down to our little rant and rave and our little crystal ball. And so I'm going to start the show. I've got several little questions, forethoughts, whatnots, whether you're interested or not, it's out there, okay? So I'm going to start off by saying, in this ever-expanding world that we sort of live in right now and the easy access to travel, it's all been halted because of COVID-19. Wow, shock, horror. I've got a couple of big questions to ask. And why are we not cruising in the ocean cruising industry, so to speak, with US bounded ships? Okay. The big question that everybody on a lot of these Facebook forums and other forums are all asking or all anticipating is that we're all going to be getting back to cruising in the next month or so. I hate to burst your little bubble. Why not? There has to be an agreement between the CDC, the cruise lines, and Clear before we all get back on a big ship. Now, having said that, there are some small cruise lines, and I'm talking more of the river cruise lines in Europe. Germany has actually opened up a couple of cruise lines, and I'm talking river cruise lines, that have actually started to cruise. And one of those is A Rose River Cruises. Nick O Vision. Did you know that there was a river cruise and ocean actually called Nick O Vision? I didn't know that.
I did not.
I just learned this. And Herdigan has also started cruising as well in this last week. All right, so that's pretty exciting. Seriously, it is. They're not really going to very many places. Mind you, these particular cruises are out of Germany. Germany has relaxed a lot of their policies, but they can't sort of go into Italy because Italy's borders are still closed. They can't go to Spain because their borders are still closed. And this is the big thing that I'm finding on social media is that people don't understand that, yes, you can get onto a ship, can't have any more than 250 passengers at the moment. It has to go by certain guidelines, which we're going to talk about. I'll talk about. I'll ask Nancy how she feels about them, but I'm talking about it. And the biggest thing is, yes, you can get onto a ship. I can find you a ship to get onto. But going to the destinations that you think you're going to go to may not happen. So the whole premise of this show is to sort of educate you, I suppose, and let you guys know what's sort of gonna look like if you do hop on a cruise ship, river ship, or on a lake, even up in the Great Lakes up in the US. Okay, right now US borders are closed, so you can't catch a flight to the USA from certain countries, although I believe that is being relaxed. And there will be flights to Asia, flights to, and I believe it's specifically to Hong Kong, Australia, Tahiti, and there are some flights flying out of New York to Europe. Can't be any more specific than that with Europe because I'm not too sure. My focus is on the South Pacific. I'm just so thankful that the South Pacific is starting to open. Last week, I sort of heard news from Air Tahiti Nui, and they are starting flights, literally. And their industry is starting to open up, along with Jamaica and a couple of other ports here in the Caribbean. And that's fantastic because that means all of those hotels, those land sort of resorts are starting to open up. In fact, I actually saw that Sandals in Mexico had their first guests arrive today. So that's exciting. And that's a good step in the right direction. But again, the question is, how long before we get back up and running in ocean cruises? It's a question I can't answer. All I can say is I have heard, I believe that we're not going to be up and cruising before December. And that will be for the major cruise lines. I'm not saying about river cruises. I'm not talking about your little lake cruises. I'm talking about over 250 passengers on a cruise ship. So let me be clear on that. Most, as you know, I've just said, most of the major lines have already cancelled their sailings until December. And that really heavily relies on Clear, and it also heavily relies on CDC because they're the ones who are going to roll out the policies. These smaller cruise lines are able to get away up and cruising is because they're able to limit their number of passengers on their little lines or ships. I mentioned A Rose, which was a river cruise company in Germany that had just started up this last week. They actually only had 40 passengers on her. You weren't able to swim in the pools. You weren't able to go and use the public toilets on that cruise ship. You weren't able to use the spa facilities or the exercise room. But what was evident was they still had entertainment, they still had fine dining. The problem with the fine, it's not a problem, but with the dining in particular, your party, you would be only sitting at a table. So just say there was 2 of you that were cruising together, therefore you had a table for 2. If there was a party of 10, well, you would have 6 and 4. There wouldn't be a table for 10 at that point in time. So this is still a sort of fluid, liquid sort of situation, and I'm assuming that they're looking and seeing at how well these smaller cruise companies actually do in, whether there's going to be COVID-19 or increase in COVID-19 is what I should be saying, with these people on board these little small ships. So Nancy, how would you feel about hopping on a cruise line right now?
Okay. All right. Crystal ball time.
Yeah.
If I were in a different position health-wise, I'd be on the first ship that was cleared to go.
Okay. Absolutely. And so now I want to go into some of the guidelines that we are seeing, and we are seeing these rolled out with these river cruises that I was talking about. You'll find that most passengers who are over 70 and up, they'll want you to get a letter of fitness from your doctor saying that you are fit to travel. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, you're going to have a COVID test before you even look or even walk into the door of an airport, okay? Because 72 hours before you get on your flight, you need to know, and they need to know, and you need to have documentation in hand saying that you are COVID-19 free, okay? And when you do get to the airport, one of the biggest things that they're trying to do at the airports is it's going to be self check-in, self everything. So it's going to be very different from probably the last time you stepped in an airport. So if you're traveling to your cruise port via a vehicle, which will be a car, because you won't want to use public transport at this stage. I wouldn't personally. I would drive. So therefore, you still need to have that documentation saying that you're COVID-19 free. When you arrive at the airport or at the cruise port, you're going to find that you're going to have your temperature taken as soon as you walk in the door. Probably going to be somewhat put through like an X-ray laser, maybe type sort of entrance. Or once you've sort of checked in, you will have to go through that. I have some information regarding.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, but a question about what you were just saying. You're going to have to walk through something. Is that one of those germ-killing robot thingies?
Yeah, it's not a robot actually. It's a germ-killing infrared or ultraviolet, ultralight. I think it's ultralight is what it's actually called. And it looks more like, you know, when you stand or go through a metal detector?
Right.
Okay, so you'll just walk through it. You may have to stand there for a couple of seconds while it zaps this ultraviolet light on you. Now, just remember, the ultraviolet light is like when you go to the dentist and you have what they call a white filling, or a filling that's not got mercury in it, and they, put the white light on it. Well, that's the kind of sort of same premises, okay? It's supposed to kill all the bacteria on your clothes and on your body, but, that's to be seen whether how effective that is. But right now, that seems to be the most effective way to sort of kill germs. So you'll go through one of those. You'll also still continue to go through your security checks and blah, blah, blah. So if you think that you're going to the airport for 2 hours before, make sure you do like 3 hours before, because you never know what's going to happen. So we've covered prior embarkation is you're going to have your temperature, right? You've gone through the ultraviolet scan. You've gone through security. You're now at your gate. Your boarding pass, they won't give you paper anymore. So the best thing you could do is take a photo of your boarding pass, particularly if you know that your phone's a little bit temperamental, or you may not have an app on your phone for that particular airline. Take a photo of your boarding pass, because that'll work to get you on the plane. Before you board the plane though, you're going to have your temperature taken again, okay? Make sure you have a mask, because you won't be allowed to get on the plane without having a mask on your face. In fact, most facilities that you walk in today, you need to have a mask on. And that's going to be the same for when you go and catch your cruise ship, is you're going to have a mask. And that's just not from walking in and out, in and out. You need to have your mask with you at all times, where and when they've designated it. Some lines don't require you to have your mask on when you're eating, per se, at the dinner table. A-Rose cruises, they actually didn't have to wear masks at the dinner table. They also didn't have to wear masks around the actual river boat ship. They were okay in their contained environment. When they hopped off and on the boat to go on their shore excursions, they had to have a mask. They had to have their temperatures taken. They had to declare that they were COVID-19 free. Now, this is not just for you as a traveler. Just remember, every single step of the way, people who are with you, whether that's crew or anybody else, your fellow passengers, they're having to do the same thing as you. So you will be monitored from the time you enter any one of these ports facilities, okay? So don't be scared. It's not a big thing. It's just something, just like those little webcams that we now have when we're shopping and we don't notice that they're in the supermarkets or at Lowe's or whatever. This is basically what it's going to look like. Okay, so we've kind of covered, you know, the enhanced screening just to get yourselves onto a ship or onto a plane. All right, and when you go into ports and come back. When you go to public venues on the cruise ship, you're probably going to have to wear a mask. I'm saying more for the larger cruise lines, more than 250 passengers, simply because it's there for your protection and the other person's protection. Why wouldn't you wear it? There's so many face masks out there. You don't have to have a surgical mask. There are clear face masks now that you put like a headband on your head. And people can still see your smile and your eyes and all the rest of that. So you may want to consider one of those when you're traveling. Don't know. It's all a personal, let's say, accessory to the modern traveler that will be coming up in this world. All right. So a couple of other things that I've also noted on cruise lines is that medical grade H13 HEPA air filters are going to be or have been placed in every single part of the ship that uses air conditioning, I believe. I also believe that that can remove 99.95% of airborne pathogens. You're going to find more medical facilities, including, well, with NCL, they've already decided they have going to employ a public health officer who will be in charge of sanitation and outbreak initiatives. I am going to assume most of the other cruise lines are going to follow suit because you really do want to have a health expert in this particular area of what we're currently experiencing, COVID-19. There's been talk of making sure that activities are limited. So you might find that when you go to the pool for a swim, you might have to wait your turn. It might be in the morning or it might be in the afternoon. I don't know how that's going to work. Like I said, on A cruises, they didn't have the pool available for that particular cruise. I don't know if they have any intentions of opening up the pool or the hot tub or the spa features. Well, who knows? We're going to find out, aren't we? All right, so that's all I have to say about that. Do you have any questions for me, Nancy?
Okay, so that cruise line that you said that did run and the whole dining room thing, how many passengers were on that ship?
40. Yes, 40. Normally on that particular cruise ship, they hold 250 passengers. But obviously with COVID-19, cancellations, I think they did wonderfully to get 40 passengers on that cruise line who were willing to cruise. And what I also didn't cover in that was everybody's talking about no more self-serve buffets. Really, guys, there's going to be buffets, all right? You can eat as much as you like. It doesn't matter whether you're in the main dining room, whether you're having a burger at the swimming pool, or whether you're going to the hot dog stand. If you want to have 20 hot dogs, you can have 20 hot dogs, okay? The difference in the buffets is that there's going to be people behind those buffets, okay? You're not going to be able to just pick up a spoon and put it onto your plate, all right? We don't want the spread of COVID, all right? Or anything else. I actually prefer, if I'm going on a cruise, to be waited upon. I used to steer away from the buffets until I actually went on a particular cruise with my cohort, Miss Yank there. And it was the first time I'd ever seen on a cruise ship, besides if there was norovirus going around. And I've only ever experienced that once on a cruise ship. And we didn't actually get any cases. It was the cruise before us. So they wanted to be very careful. Anyway, let's get back to the story. So I had never been on a cruise before where there was no self-service buffet, so to speak. You were served on a plate, whatever you wanted, how much you wanted. If you've ever watched anybody at a buffet, they stand there, okay, waiting a line, and they'll pick with their dirty little fingers.
Granted, they're picking off their own plate. They're not picking into the
Yeah, I've seen them actually picking out of food that's there for everybody, which
Yeah.
just, then I just go, I don't want to eat that. No, thank you.
I
That's,
think, you know what? I think that buffets were never made super clear. You know, there was never a specific protocol that was kind of like on the wall saying, don't touch the rolls without using your tongue. But people just don't understand necessarily the way to use a buffet properly. Does that make sense?
yeah, it does make sense. And I think this is just going to make people realize that you just can't go and pick a bread roll with your hands. You know,
I actually verbally threatened someone over just that same thing, and that was on a cruise ship. They were having a Mexican night, and on the pool deck they had a buffet, and I'm online for the buffet, and a good 4 people in front of me I'm watching sticking their grubby paws into the bread rolls, and I was next to I was next to the last person to be, you know, serving, and before the guy could even reach, I said, the next person I see grab a roll without those tongs are going to get clocked with them. The guy picked up those tongs really quick, I'll tell you that. But obviously, I stayed away from the bread.
well, see, that's the same that's the same thing I do. If you're going to pick a bean with your grubby little paws, or you've got cold and you've sneezed and you've put those hands on a pair of tongs or a spoon that you're serving yourself, do you think I'm going to touch that? Honestly,
Did you even realize that so much as picking up a bean off of your own plate
yeah,
is still,
yes,
that's still bad?
yes,
That still could need to have that whole section of food replaced.
yes. And that costs cruise lines so much money, but that's not the point. That's not the point. So anyway, just to let you guys know, you're still going to have yourself, you're going to still have a buffet. It's just going to be a little bit different. That's all. You'll be fine.
There's going to be a select group of cruisers who are going to be looking to see just how drastically changed the experience is going to be. And I think much of their future business depends on just how comfortable and natural these changes that we'll need to make are. Let's face facts, we've got people right now who generally do 3 to 5 cruises a year who just cannot wait. It doesn't matter to them what they're going to have to do, what's going to change. They just want back on the ocean. But there's another percentage of people who don't cruise nearly as often and are kind of going to be sitting on the fence going, let's see.
My next question to you is, do you think we're going to have fewer ships out there sailing?
Initially, I think that there's no choice. There will come a time, I see in my crystal ball, you know, it had a smudge on it, but I cleaned it. It made a little squeaky noise. I cleaned it. It's all clean now. But my little crystal ball says that with the reduced capacity on the ships, at first they're just going to stick with the ships that were doing those specific routes. But with all of the other port closures, they may decide to bring some of those ships back so that they can partially fill them as well, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah,
It may take 2 ships to generate the income that 1 ship had generated before. So I think in the beginning, when the need isn't as pressing, there will be less ships to be found, but that will change the moment bookings start picking up. I wanted to mention briefly that yesterday I put out a new blog. It is entitled The Lisa Rinna Effect.
ew.
I thought I notified you about it. Maybe I was wrong. But yes, and it basically focuses on personal responsibility. Yes, the airports are going to have these things that we're going to have to go through. Hotels are going to have special cleaning requirements made upon them. Same thing with your cruise and your stateroom. The cleaning is going to be exceptional, exceptional, and thorough. However, that does not mean that you have the freedom to just say that it's clean enough. You have to take a little bit of personal responsibility. It takes a minute to go through your hotel room with a disinfecting wipe and, just giving a quick wipe down to all commonly used surfaces, light switches, bathroom fixtures. Yes, it's clean before you get there, but it doesn't hurt for you to give it a second once over just for your own state of mind. And the same thing with planes, please. Even more so with planes than with hotels or cruise ships. Make sure that you disinfect your armrest area, your tray table, your seat buckle, and even your air filtration thing above your head, because these are things you're going to touch that might not have been looked after between flights. So my point is, a little personal responsibility will help in the long run.
Absolutely, Nancy. And so we're going to refer to your blog. And again, thank you, Nancy, for joining me today on Aussie and the Yank, Walk Onto a Ship.
It's always my pleasure to spend time on the phone with you.
Thanks, darling. Catch you next time.
No, we cannot quit yet. We cannot leave yet.
Oh, no?
One last thing.
I'm about to pause you. Pause. Don't.
Don't you pause that thing. Okay, so actually it's two things. One, if you have a funny story that you want to share about a cruising experience, please reach out to us. We will be having a contest, and I want to poke her in the eye. Sorry, Jen was making faces at me. I was trying to keep my train of thought. So let me try that again. So, 3, 2, 1. So if you have a funny story about one of your cruise or other travel experiences that you'd like to share on Aussie and a Yank, we invite you to send it to us either in email, or you could just do it on voice memo and send it to us as an attachment. There will be, based on participation, there will be contests with prizes. So there's that. So please share your stories with us. Jen, yes, I know your bald spot's there.
1, 2, 3.
And if there's any story that you would like to read more about in the Aussie and the Yank blog, information that you're looking for, helpful hints and tips, please reach out. We're happy to cover whatever topics you're interested in. Thank you. So my crazy cohort, the Aussie and I, would like to wish you guys a great couple of weeks, and we'll see you in 2.
Bye, Nancy.
Thanks for tuning in. Bye.
Travel advisor for this episode is #Cruise Travel Guru. Executive producer and editing of this audio is The Aussie. Co-producer is The Yank. All opinions expressed in this audio are of Aussie and a Yank and remain their opinions. Follow, like, subscribe and share. Aussie and a Yank on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and YouTube.